Hey, everybody. It looks like we are live. Tug from the Mome. All right, let's get my filter set up. Shirley, Azini, Ark. Hello, hello, hello. And hello to everyone out there in Lurkingville. I can see there's a few of you out there that aren't saying hello yet. All right. I should probably put the coffee down. The coffee is the reason I'm tired today. Get our mushroom turned on. Get our rainbow turned on. Yay. Christopher. All right, let us. Hey, 3G, how are you? Let's get started with feeding on the goldfish because they have been very impatiently waiting for their nummies here. I've been in the room doing a little bit of work over the last hour. We did a big water change on the 55. I got the filter spray bar fixed. Well, not fixed necessarily. It wasn't broken, but the suction cup had come off and had shit growing all over it, and it wouldn't stick anymore. Thank you, 3G. So we got that all put back together properly, and I cleaned off the suction cup and got the spray bar put back, and we put fresh water in there. There wasn't a lot of air bubbles coming out of the air stone, so I thought maybe it was getting clogged, and I put a new air stone on it, and we still don't have a lot of bubbles coming out of it. It's more than it was, but not by a lot, so I think the air pump itself might be just wearing out. I get the Tetra Whisper air pumps, and they're $10 or $12 for a small one, and you get a few years out of them before they, the valve starts going bad or whatever. And I don't even remember how long it's been since I put that one on there. So if it is starting to go bad after all this time, so be it. Whatever, I'll just replace it. Usually when I buy those air pumps, I buy 2 or 3 at a time because they're, again, $10 or $12 for the smaller ones, and they're easy to just slap on a tank. They do literally run whisper quiet. You don't even know they're there. And they, whatever, they're just easy to replace. So I'm not too worried about it. But when it gets to the point where there's not really any air bubbles at all coming out of there, I will have to replace it. All right, I should probably put the damn coffee down. Hey, Eugene. Neil. Oh, I forgot about those jawbones. I found those out in the water. They've been out back for a while. I laid them out in the sun when I brought them home because they had like algae all over them. But they were laying side by side in the water right where I parked my kayak one day. I was just having a puff, drinking some coffee in the shade under a tree. And I looked down. I realized I was at the base of a fairly steep hill. So chances are a deer died up in the woods somewhere. And over time, the bones washed down the hill or whatever, were knocked downhill, dragged down the hill by animals. But the 2 jawbones were all I could find. All the teeth are intact, and it's a matching pair. It's a right and left side. And those were the only 2 bones I could find. I didn't see another bone anywhere around. So I brought them home because I do stuff like that. Off grid, how are you? All right, I also want to throw some of my floating pellets in there, but the container is empty, so I got to open my sack of pellets here and refill my container. And then we'll throw some floating pellets in there. Let me dump the powdery dust that's in the bottom here in the trash can. I don't want to put a bunch of dust in the tank. food dust. Nobody's ever going to guess my music tonight. I listen to a band that I never listened to, and the reason I never listened to is because I can't fucking stand them. But I listened to them tonight. Well, I got through about half the album. I just couldn't take it anymore, and so I wound up listening to something better, which you also won't be able to guess. I am deliberately trying to fatten up my koi, which is why I'm throwing these larger floating pellets in there. Pretty much the koi are the only ones big enough to really eat them. So after everybody gets fed, I also throw some pellets in there that only the koi can eat. And then that way they'll plump up a little bit. It's working too. They've gone from being like thin in the middle to actually starting to look a little bit more filled out. So probably right about at that sweet spot. I don't want them to be overweight, but I do want them not to be thin in the middle. Oh, I like the Clash. I said I can't stand, not you can't stand. Mary, hello. 6 Feet Under? Nope. Cannibal Corpse, never heard of them. I was actually just complaining about this band the other night, and I'm going to reiterate my complaint and say that this band is the most overrated psychedelic band in the fucking world. Like, I don't know how they are considered to be a psychedelic band. There's nothing about this band that is psychedelic. They're like a country folk band, and they're okay. Like, again, I just don't fucking get it. I've never understood the appeal of this band. But the album I was listening to tonight would be, let's see, if I was a turtle and I wanted to take a train, where would I go? Where would a turtle go to take a train? Oh, I like Primus too. I listen to Primus. ABC songs by the Wiggles. No, but I can only imagine how mind-numbing horrible that would be. The Monkees. I actually kind of like the Monkees too. But no, the Monkees are not really considered a psychedelic band. Lucifer, no. My Anubius, I don't have Anubius in this tank. I got a lot of Pothos plant, which is all that long trailing stuff, and you can see a lot of it underwater because it's all coming off of this stuff down here. This is Peace Lily, and then I've also got a little bit of Peace Lily down there somewhere, or I might have some Peace Lily down there. That's Anubius. That's some big ass Anubius. Bob, 311. Grateful Dead. There you go, Bob. Nailed it. Grateful fucking Dead. What a shit band they are, or were, or whatever. I was listening to Terapin Station tonight. I actually used to have that album when I was a teenager. Like, I hung out with the psychedelic crowd, and so, like, everybody wore Grateful Dead shirts and was talked about the Grateful Dead like they were the greatest band ever. And I really, really, really tried to pretend to like them so that I could, like, fit in with everybody. And I just never did. I never liked them. I never understood it. I never got it. I never fucking understood what the hell they've got to do with psychedelia. Like, I mean, if you like country folk music or whatever and listen to people strumming on guitars and shit, like, that's cool. You know, they're fine for that if you like that kind of stuff. I don't really, but I mean, other people do. So, again, anything I'm trashing, it's my own opinion. If you like the Grateful Dead, go ahead and keep liking them. You have my permission to do so. I fucking just do not get the Grateful Dead. I hate those fuckers. But I forced myself to listen to half that damn album tonight. And I was like, nope, can't do it. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, like, why? What about this would make you want to listen to this while you were tripping? Like, this is just not tripping music. It's like listening to bluegrass or something. Actually, bluegrass would probably be awesome while you were tripping because of all the crazy shit going on with the banjo. This isn't even that. This is just people playing guitars and shit. It's fucking country folk music. Curse you, Grateful Dead. Anyway, from there, I went on to listen to some fun music. We walked like a camel. We went on a dirt track date. We ate from an 8-piece box. I saw the 2 ugly girls sitting next to me because of the light from the firefly. And we drove in my Voodoo Cadillac. See if you know that band. Hey, hey, we're the Munchie Cheese. And we love Munchie Cheese around. Jefferson Airplane's okay. They kind of get on my nerves a little bit. They're a little pretentious, but they're okay. Hey, Kumar, how are you? You also have an issue with Rush and Journey. I could take or leave both of those. I am a big fan of Neil Peart. I do think he's an amazing drummer, but in situ, like with the band and the music the band produces and everything, like I said, I can take it or leave it. Your dad was a deadhead. A lot of people were. All my friends were. Yeah, dueling banjos is awesome if you actually listen to it. All right, I am caught up, so we will move on to the next tank. The other band I was listening to is like a sort of southern rockabilly band called Southern Culture on the Skids, and they're kind of in the spirit of the B-52s in that they're just a fun party band. They're not trying to make any statements or change the world. They don't think their music is amazing or, they don't do anything wild and crazy with the fucking time signatures and all that shit. They're just a good, fun party band. And I still can't decide whether oops, I'm putting the wrong food in here. I'm putting more goldfish food in there. I still can't decide whether they're doing like an homage to Southern culture on the Skids, like white trash, trailer park culture, or if they're just sort of poking fun at it. Either way, it's hilarious and it's awesome. I actually saw them in concert once with my, she was my girlfriend at the time, so that's how long ago. She's my wife now, so that gives you an idea how long ago that was. It's back when I went out of the house and did things. 1,000,000 years ago. I also have a gourami that I believe is on the way out. Oh, and that Siamese algae eater that I told you a while ago was going to be gone any day now was gone a few days later. I flushed that down the toilet a couple days ago. I think Friday night, actually. Or no, it was Wednesday night. It was my members' live stream day, and I forgot all about it. I forgot to mention it. I actually drank a lot of that mushroom juice last night, and it was interesting. It was definitely not a trip. I did some more research. I looked into the type of mushroom it is. It's the Amanita muscaria, and the chemical in it is considered a hallucinogenic, and they are considered hallucinogenic mushrooms, but they are not really regulated, and it affects a completely different mechanism than the psilocybin does. So every time I kept saying this, just like it's not really a trip. It's not. It's a completely different thing than an actual psilocybin trip. But it is technically considered a hallucinogenic, and if you do or a psychedelic. And if you do a lot of it, you can get visual and auditory hallucinations and stuff like that. And I drank about half the bottle last night, and I was rolling right along. I definitely wouldn't want to have been doing a live stream last night, on that much mushroom juice. So I got about a quarter of the bottle left, and I'd drink it tonight if I could afford to replace it. So I'm not going to drink it tonight unless anybody is going to donate money for me to buy a replacement bottle. So that would be up to you guys. If you want me to drink mushroom juice, I will for the fun of it. But I'm going to need to be able to replace that because I'm saving it for later this week. Janice, you're here. Fly guy, hello. I do think I'm building up a tolerance to it pretty quickly, but I don't think it's a tolerance per se. I think I'm just getting used to it and it doesn't feel as weird. And so I'm able to manage it better. Like last night, I was upstairs talking to my wife and fairly normal evening when I wanted it to be, when I needed it to be. But then when I came down here in my little colored pleasure den in the other room with all the lights and stuff, I was able to just like zone out and space out and, just really enjoy it for the moment. But if I needed to like get up and do stuff, I could. I'm not tripping on this stuff. It's an interesting experience. It really is. I definitely still recommend it. But I don't think I'm necessarily building a tolerance to it, although I may be. I think what the real thing is I'm just sort of getting used to the way it feels. Like if you think about figure skaters, when they do all that swirling around really fast shit, and then they skate away like nothing, and you wonder, like, how the fuck do they do that and not get dizzy? And the answer is that they don't. They are dizzy. They just do that so many times, they just ignore the dizziness. They know where the ice is, they know where forward is, and they just ignore the dizziness and do it. They just get used to it. And it's kind of like that. I don't feel like I'm tripping any less, or whatever you want to call it, buzzing any less than I was before. I just feel like I'm more used to it, and I kind of know what to expect more now, if that makes sense. How have you been, Janice? Cetacean Creation, how are you? Snort some discus, nice. Well, you use you use the discus to chop up the mushrooms, and then you snort the mushrooms. I don't really do anything. Yay, Janice, I'm glad you're back. Now I got a song stuck in my head. Nice. Just trying to get caught up here. If you come here, Zini, you can have my chaps. How about that? I don't think they'd fit you because they barely fit me. I bought them when I was a scrawny ass little 18-year-old. And no, I'm not wearing my chaps tonight. I only had one bad trip on mushrooms. It was because I ate a lot of mushrooms, and I physically ate the mushrooms, and I had a bunch of like upset stomach and shit, and that's what kind of triggered the bad trip. And even that only lasted about 45 minutes. I mean, the rest of the day wasn't exactly fun after that. It was kind of a blah trip, but the bad part of it, where I was experiencing like the fear and terror and all that shit, that only lasted for about 45 minutes. But in all the years I've been doing acid and mushrooms and whatnot, I've only ever had that one bad trip, and that was because I ate a fucking lot. I ate like a quarter ounce of mushroom caps, all caps, just fucking munched down on them and chewed them up and ate them. And about half an hour later, my stomach was all cramping up and knotting up. And then, like, as the trip rolled onto me really intense, the pains in my stomach, it went bad and went sour from there. And so, like, right out of the gate, it was bad. Do I ever wear just my chaps? I haven't yet, but one of these days I'm going to. I need to now that I've thought about that. I got my OnlyFans channel to think about. All right, somebody can stop sign me. Let's move on to the next tank. I don't ever really worry about doing anything goofy like knocking a fish tank over or something like that. If you're like, I won't start even on those weird little mushrooms that aren't really like real mushrooms. Even then, I won't be doing like a water change or something that's really time sensitive because I will lose track of time, or I'll walk out of the room and forget what I'm doing, and next thing you know, the water will be overflowing. Stuff like that can happen very easily while you're tripping, but probably not going to like knock tanks over and stuff like that. It's not like being drunk where you lose control physically. You're not going to be stumbling around or anything like that. All right, let me see what I got going on here. Laura's the queen of the stop sign. Hey, Laura, how are you this evening? And thank you. Craig, how are you? Laura is always on it. Well, Fly Guy, you're the one suggesting it. I would either need the money sent directly to me through Zelle, and we can do it for $40, or if it's a donation through the YouTube, since YouTube keeps almost half of it, I would need $70. And I'll show you how much juice I've got left. This grape stuff is really good. I could have just swigged on it last night until it was gone. I almost did. I really, really debated whether or not just to finish the bottle off and see what happens. But I wanted to save some of it. And in fact, I've got, well, I don't know. It's enough that it would be a hell of a ride if I drank it all at once. But I got that much left. I don't know if you can see that or not. Man, let me turn the front light off and you can see it backlit a little bit maybe. Can you see where that water line, the level is? Here, let me put my finger on it. So right up to there where my fingernail is where the level is. So I got that much left in the bottle. So the first night I drank about like that much, and considering the narrowness of the top, it wasn't even maybe a quarter of the bottle. Last night I drank about that much right out of the middle. So I drank a lot of it last night. I drank probably close to half the bottle last night. And I've got about a quarter of the bottle left now. Chug. I'll chug it. Got to get it paid for, though. We might do a water change on the tank we're looking at right now. We get done feeding everybody. I have looked in there when I was topping it off tonight. Like I said, I did a little bit of work in here before I went live. I got the glass wiped down and everything in here, but the Mome and everything on the bottom in this tank is just out of control. I don't have any filtration in this tank. It's just some power heads moving the water around a little bit. And I mean, you can see by looking in there, it's not a lot of water movement. You don't see like, plant leaves swaying in the breeze and all that shit. So it's not a lot of water movement. It's got an air stone, and that's about it. And so there's nothing to remove the Mome and the crud and stuff. It just builds up. And unless I get in there and physically do the water changes and remove it with the vac, it doesn't get removed. So I will need to do something about that. While we're here real quick, I will have a brief look at this Anubias here. If we come around the backside, you can see more of what the actual plant looks like. I'm not even sure if that's more than one plant. I think it's two. I think this one over here is one, and then I think this is the other one here. But you can see the size of it here. And then looking at the light coming through the leaves on the backside, they just look fucking fantastic. I love the way these leaves look when they're backlit. They're just amazing looking, and they're huge. They're bigger than my hand. And then this is one of the flowers, and you can see how tall that is. So the only thing I can really say as far as what I do to make these Anubias look like this is a lot of light. You know, these are floodlights that you put out by your garage to keep the raccoons out of your trash. So I'm not shy about putting light in my tanks. I got 6 of them puppies shining right down in here. And Anubias is generally considered a low light plant. And I would imagine if you had this very same Anubias sitting under, you know, the bullshit light that came on this, it was a 125. It had 3 hoods. Each hood had an 18-inch fluorescent light that was 22 watts or something like that. And that was it. That was the lighting that came on this ensemble. It came with the hoods and the stand and everything. And literally, that was it. 3 18-inch fluorescent lights was the light that came on that tank stock. So if you would put that and then put those Anubias in there and then didn't give them any food or fertilizers or anything, they'd probably still be about the same size as the day I bought them. If you hit them with light like that, you can not give them any food or fertilizers or anything and then have them look the way mine do. And they've also been there for years and years, too. That's not like I just slapped them up there last week and they're growing like that. That's a lot of years of growing into that size. All right, now this tank, I cleared off the all the Java moss off of the power head so you can actually see some movement on the leaves and everything. If you actually look in here and pay attention, you can notice that there is actually quite a bit of movement. So we got some good water flow going in this tank now. We got the glass cleaned up. Got a bunch of the Java moss pulled out of here. I vacuumed a bunch of crud out of the bottom. Still haven't done a filter change. It's been 14 months since we've changed the filter, but we did do a nice big fat water change on here tonight. So everything is fine. I'm not going to worry about that filter just yet. I'll do it when I feel like it. It's been 14 months. Another couple days ain't going to hurt nothing, you know. Iceman, how are you this evening? Mike, how are you? All right, let's see. Do I think it expires? The juice, I don't know. Probably someday, but I mean, I've only got it last. When did it show up? Thursday? No, it showed up Friday. So I drank some Friday night. What the hell is going on with my disc? I mean, my the other skinny ass fish I have. What are they called? Silver dollars. I wonder if they're spawning or something because they're acting awfully weird all of a sudden. I don't know. Once the tanks get settled in, you don't have to do a whole lot to them. No, I don't use a level at all. In fact, if you look at my tank on the end, the one we were just looking at, it kicks up. I don't know if you can really tell from this angle. Not really. But when the water level is down a little bit, when the water is touching the black mark on this end or where the plastic is, there's about 1/3 of an inch gap at the other end over a 3-foot length. That's a 40 breeder, so that's 3 feet. So that tank is well over half a bubble off. I mean, I could go get a level and put it on there and we could see what it looked like, but I guarantee that's going to be more than half a bubble off. And I've never had any problem with it. Hey, Kane. I don't think I ever kept black-nosed dace, but I kept something really similar to them. And I just kept them at regular temperature with all the other fish, 75, 76 degrees, whatever. An arowana? Well, for one thing, I don't have a 600-gallon tank, and for another thing, I don't have $600. Fall planting, nice. All right, I am caught up again. If somebody wants to stop sign me, I'm going to do a dab. I don't have much tonight. I'm really getting ready to run into a gap. I'm still having problems with the fucking mites. Oh, God, they're driving me crazy, so I'm not going to go on about that again. But I also, in my big tent, I got 4 plants jammed in there, and it looks amazing. And I was thinking I was going to run into problems because they're 4 big plants. Any one of them could be in there sort of by itself in the middle of the tent and sort of fill it out. But I got 4 of them in there, 4 square, and it's so dense, and there's such a canopy that like the bottom of the tent is dark. And so you, regardless of having 2 fans in there, plus the ventilation, evacuation fan, to pull the heat out, it's just there's not enough air movement in there, and I'm already starting to find buds getting little bits of mold on them, and that mold, it spreads and the spores get in the air. And again, I got fans and stuff blowing around, so I'm just terrified that I'm gonna like go in there one day and I'm gonna start finding mold on like all of the fucking buds and stuff. And so if that tent gets wiped out, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm counting on getting so much weed out of that tent, it'll carry me for a while I sort out my other issues. If that tent doesn't make it, I'm going to be screwed because I'm almost out of weed. I got like 1 little bud left. I got almost no hash oil left, and I don't have anything that's going to be ready to cut down for another 2 weeks. And so I may have to wind up going to the store and buying some dumb bullshit from the store, but I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'm not going to buy any bullshit from the store. I hate store-bought weed. My own shit's better than that. Never thought I'd be able to talk about A, having store-bought weed, B, talking about my own weed that I grow, and C, talking about how my weed is actually better than the shit I can buy at the store. What a world we live in. All right, there was my dab. That's a big one. All right. Look at all them stop signs. Thank you, everybody. The stop sign tells me where I left off, if that's what you mean by latency. This is Crypt. I think it's Wendetti, or however you pronounce that. And I use Eco Complete. I like the black stuff. And I do not use the sand. I actually use the bimodal gravelly substrate. They might call it something else now. I think they might have changed the name from Eco Complete to something similar. Yeah, off grid. That was Laura's idea because I was always scrolling back trying to figure out where the hell I left off because I don't like to miss anybody's comments. I like to, keep up with everybody. And it was just a pain in the ass. I spent so much time trying to figure out where I left off that Laura suggested leaving a stop sign when I took a break to do other things. And when I get back to my tablet, I can scroll right back to where the stop sign is and pick up where I left off. And it is a brilliant idea. I don't know why more people don't do it. You've had your fish since May and you can't pick a name. I don't really name my fish. I got 1 or 2 that get names just because, but most of them don't have names. Sweet, sweet foot cheese. You can always tell a weed story. I don't like the stuff at the store because it's always just rock hard. It's rock hard and bone dry. Be a good band name. It's always just really overly dried out. My weed I dry and cure and everything, and it's still got some softness to it and some flexibility. There's a smoothness to it when you smoke it. It doesn't go down all harsh and fucking rough on your throat like the store bought shit does. I don't know. I've never really liked the store bought stuff. The store bought stuff's potent. I'll give it that. But when I get mine right, which isn't always, I've only been growing for 20 years. I'll get it right one of these days. Bear with me. Be patient. But when I get it right, I grow some dank fucking bud. And it's at least as potent as the shit I get at the store. Yeah, I can see that. Red tape bullshit. All right, just trying to get caught up. We'll move on to the next tank here in a minute. Yeah, we had a stupid red tape thing like that. Not regarding weed, but during the pandemic. It's possible that they don't flush before they do it. I always stop giving mine plant food. Geez, I don't know, 2 weeks before I harvest them. They don't really need it. Not only do you want to flush out all of the extra mineral content that's in them, you just don't really need it. And I can tell you that's real. You do get higher mineral content if you don't flush. I've taken weed that has been flushed and dried it in the microwave. And while you might get the little pops and little mini explosions from where like the cells are rupturing from the boiling water and stuff, you don't get the fucking sparks and lightning show that you will get if you feed your plants right up till the end and then you dry it in the microwave. You'll get the lightning show and the sparks and shit coming off like the stems and different like little bits of the tips of the leaves and stuff will spark and whatnot. And the only thing I can think of it is it's the minerals that are still in there, causing the microwave to react differently than when you flush it. But it will do that, at least in my experience. So I flush. Hey, Mike. Yeah, you said you never wiped before. All right. I am caught up as of now. So if somebody wants to stop sign me. All right. I'm all caught up. Hey, James. 700 plants in your walk-in closet. That's a hell of a walk-in closet. All right, thank you for all the stop signs. All right, let's move on to the next tank. So I thought about wiping down the glass in here because it kind of needs it, but I was also running low on time, and I decided that it's clear enough. You guys will have to live with it. Let's see if we can find the gourami that's not doing well. If we look all the way over in the far corner there, in the upper right-hand corner all by itself, this one, its body doesn't look right. It's not moving properly. Its fins look like they've been sort of not necessarily nipped, but they look like they're kind of like falling off and breaking apart. Like as the fish starts to age out, their fins get a little shitty looking. fish, like all animals, like we start to look rough as we age. Shit starts not working right, and they start looking bad, and that's fish is getting that look about it. It doesn't look like it's sick; it just looks like it's starting to age out. So I don't think that gourami is going to be around very much longer. And if that one is aging out, then it's probably going to be soon. The other ones are going to start to as well. Although a lot of fish will live way longer than their, says on the package. And I honestly don't even know what the lifespan of gouramis are. But those gouramis are probably, oh, I don't know. What are we going to say? 4 or 5 years old now? 6 years old, maybe at the most. They're less than 6. I'm going to say. I don't think I've had them that long. And pearl gouramis typically live 4 to 5 years, but with optimal care, some can live up to 8. So yeah, that one's probably just aging out at this point. Let's see. The substrate is the Eco Complete. I have that in most of my tanks, and I got a bunch of different fish in here. I got a striped Raphael catfish on the bottom. I got loaches, the discus, angelfish, black skirt tetras, pearl gouramis, and there's a red tail loach in the back. You can kind of see through the cave a little bit. His red tail sticking out anyway. Oh, he just swam out of his cave. If you're lucky, you might get to see that red-tailed loach swim around for a minute. It's a rare glimpse we ever get of that fish. He's kind of aggressive and a dickhead, too, so... Mei-Ling, how are you? All my tanks are fresh water at this point. That catfish is almost 11 years old now. I would love a dedicated P2. I will never have another Bumblebee Cat again. My experience with the Bumblebee Cat, and I've had 2 or 3 of them, they are really reclusive, and so you don't really ever see them. And then when they do come out, they eat at like way larger things than you think will be possible for them to eat. Experienced fish keepers know sometimes, especially fish like catfish, the front end opens up like a fucking cargo door, and they can eat fish that seem like somehow to be bigger than they are, and yet somehow they get them inside their stomach. But the Bumblebee Cats were like that, so you can't keep any kind of fish that's even remotely, close enough for them to eat. And I don't know, they just seem to be a lot of downside with not a lot of upside. I'm not a big fan of the kind of fish that you see so infrequently. You're like, oh shit, I forgot I had that in there. That's still alive. Cool. And then you don't see it again for 6 more months. The red tail cat, the red tail loach that's in this tank is very similar to that. I've had that fish for, as long as I've had all the other ones in here. So probably about 10 years now, 11 years, I've had that red tail loach back there. And up until recently, we never even saw that much of it. It stayed underneath of that log, and the way the cave was, you couldn't see it at all. About, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago, I remodeled the tank so that I gave that catfish more room, and I made the cave bigger. And now you can see through the cave, and so you can often see that orange tail sticking out in the back, and like that's it. Every once in a blue moon during feeding time, you'll see that dart out. It'll dash around the tank once, and then it'll go back under that. If you look at this structure here, this is a big piece of wood, and it's actually like hollow underneath, like concave. And so in the back, there's access, and that loach swims under there and basically lives underneath of that log. And that's just where it spends all its time, is just under that log with its tail sticking in. Cool fish and everything, but what's the fucking point? I don't like fish that I don't stuff. Even an aggressive fish isn't necessarily um, a deal breaker for me, depending on what tank I put it in. But like a fish that you just never see, and then on the occasions, in the case of the bumblebee, when you do see it, it's eating your other fish and stuff like that. Again, not really my cup of tea. Yeah, gulper cats are insane. I was actually thinking about them as I was talking. Eco Complete is by Carib Sea. Fluval makes the stuff called stratum or stratum. Can you earn dollars in your spare time, Ark? Hey, gamer. Mel. All right, let us moveth on to the next tank. It's almost 9 o'clock already. Wow. We actually got some chat and whatnot going on tonight. I'm having take some time to get caught up reading. And I am looking forward to sit down tonight. Oh, I never did finish saying what I was saying earlier. So I looked into the mushrooms that the mushroom juice that I've been drinking, and it's not psilocybin mushrooms, but it is these other mushrooms called Amanita muscaria. They are considered to be hallucinogenic. They are not, contrary to popular belief. They're not. According to what I read, it's been disproven that it is the mushrooms. Apparently, a lot of people believe that the Vikings would eat these mushrooms to go into their berserker state when they would go freaking out in berserker. I don't believe that just from my experience with eating them. I can't imagine anybody eating this stuff and then going berserker. But I also know how, you could get yourself worked up into a state of mind. And if you were with a group of people and you were all doing it and all working yourself up. So I'm not going to put, just because I get euphoric feelings, that's what I'm going for. I got soft colored lighting and cool, chill music. And, obviously I'm not going to work myself up into a berserker rage state while I'm doing that. But if that's what you were going for, maybe you could. I don't know. But the other thing is that it is also a sleep inducer. And that's where I was going with that. I drank so much coffee last night because I was just yawning my head off by 9 o'clock. And if I wanted to stay awake and enjoy it, I was drinking coffee till like 9 o'clock last night. And then I was ready for bed by like 1 a.m. and I could not sleep. I tossed and turned and laid in bed. I didn't really fall asleep until after 6 o'clock this morning. And then I was back up at 10:30. And so that was my night. And then I got a little half-assed couple of naps. Both times I tried to lay down, I got phone calls right after I dozed off. And so I had to get back up and, talk on the phone. So, yeah, I'm a little kind of out of it and drowsy and whatnot tonight. I'm not really looking to do a whole lot anyway. So I'm looking forward to sitting down and chillaxing. One of the other things I noticed while on these mushrooms is that I do not notice nearly as much pain in my neck and my shoulder. And it's because the way these mushrooms work, the receptor that it works on is a pain receptor or is part of the pain receptor chain or something like that. Long story short is these mushrooms deaden and block pain reception. So it makes sense that I don't feel as much pain in my shoulder and whatnot when I've been taking them. So it's been some interesting stuff. It's been an interesting experience with them. But it's definitely not magic mushrooms in the truest sense that I think about them. All right, let's see. Excuse me. No, Mary, I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm going to agree with Janice about not doing dirted tanks. I've never been interested in doing a dirted tank, which technically should be called a soiled tank, but that sounds terrible, so we always call it a dirted tank. There is a difference between dirt and soil. It's a stupid difference, but there is a difference. There's probably some species of Muscaria that are toxic or poisonous. I think pencilfish will stand vertical like that. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of what they're called either. A dirted tank is a tank that is planted with soil, and then you cap it with sand and maybe some laterite and possibly some carbon layers in there, depending on how you're going to set it up. But typically, a dirted tank has a base layer of actual soil, like garden soil type stuff that you would get, like potting mix or whatever. And then that's capped off and held down by sand. And so if the sand gets disturbed, or you've got fish that dig, or you pull one of the plants up and the roots bring all the soil up with it, and as in Mary's case, the soil then gets on top of the sand, there's no real way to get the soil back under the sand. It's, you have to, I guess, remove the soil or something. I'm not really sure what you would do at that point. This gives you a little better look at it. This is also the Eco Complete. This is that same substrate. It's considered bimodal, meaning that it has some sand in it and then some larger, grittier, like gravelly-like substrate. That's the word I was looking for. And over time, they sort of self-segregate. The lighter, smaller sand will go, or the denser, smaller sand will settle to the bottom, and the larger, lighter, gravelly-like stuff will work its way to the top. And so it gives you not only trace minerals for your plants. If the roots are down into the substrate, it'll actually be able to draw some trace minerals from that. But the gravelly surface allows for water to flow through it a little bit. It gives you some denitrification, or not denitrification. Why am I not able to think about what the hell I'm trying to say here? It helps function as part of your nitrogen cycle. It gives you good biological activity in the substrate because it's loose enough that water can flow through it at the surface. Once you get down a little deeper where the sand layer is, it gets denser, there's less water flow, and the roots are able to get down into that and be a little more stable. And so that's why it's bimodal substrate. You get the best of both worlds. You get that sort of sandy, dense layer at the bottom with the lighter, fluffier, gravelly looking stuff on the top. And it's good stuff. I like it. And I think it looks good. Let's see, bag of play sand. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a pencil fish or not. Yeah, I don't have any dirted tanks. I don't have any soiled tanks either. All right, I can stop sign if somebody wants to stop sign me. My Amazon order has shipped. That's good news. All right, let's move on. This is one of my named fish. This is Gilgalad's tank. And I do not see little Gilgalad. Oh, he's all the way in the back corner. I do see him. He'll come out in a minute. See, I think he's already on his way. Let me summon him. Oh, there he is. He's coming. He knows when it's Nummy Num's time. Turn around, little buddy. They're right behind you. I've got 2 guppies in this tank, and I got a bunch of shrimp in this tank. And then I've got my half moon betta fish there, Gilgalad. Thank you for the stop signs. I'm not sure about the Mome and when you would need to clean it. I usually clean it when it starts to pile up and get a little too thick for my liking, and I don't really know how to. It's subjective. It's what I just think is too much. It is a home for bacteria. Usually, where Mome collects is a slow spot where there's not a lot of water flow, and so if enough Mome begins to build up there, you'll get down into the Mome itself. Will be very oxygen depleted because of the biological activity that's going on in there. So, if fish do swim down into the Mome and get in there under certain circumstances, it can be prone to bacterial infections. If they've got a primary injury, they could get a secondary infection. So it's not without its risks letting it build up too much. But I let it get I let it build up for the most part without too much worry. Pretty much all the killifish will jump out of the tank if you've got an open top tank. Yeah, you definitely have to have Red-headed turnip. How are you this evening? You definitely have to have a well-covered lid if you're going to keep killifish. "41 months. Holy crap." Yeah, the original channel name's back. You have a whole ass patch in your fry tank? I don't have any ass patches. That mid-tank plant, are you talking about this stuff? All this, that's just Java moss. That shit grows all over every damn thing. Channel membership is $2.99, and that gets you access to the Discord, and you will also get access to the Wednesday members only live stream, and you will get some badges and emojis and stuff like that if you sign up. But remember, I do have a Patreon that's kind of a dead thing. If you want to donate money through Patreon, I certainly appreciate it. You're welcome too. But if you're joining the channel to get the benefits I just explained, you have to go to my YouTube channel and then go like under one of my videos. You'll see a button that says join. So you want to join the channel itself, not the Patreon, and that'll get you access to all the stuff we're talking about. I've been doing this live stream every Friday and Sunday. My channel's been around for over 10 years now. I've been doing the live stream for what, almost 5. Janice is my original member, and she's been a member over 4 years now. So we've been doing these live streams for a long time. My betta fish is all right. It doesn't really bother the other fish in the tank. No ass patch from me. 47 months. Holy crap. 4 years tomorrow. The plants floating on the top is a mishmash of water sprite and duckweed. And this is all, I don't have any big ass. Normally you see how I got like the roots and shit hanging down from the water sprite. All of this is just little baby water sprites. None of them are full grown by any stretch. Yeah, these are all tiny little bastards. So I got in there and cleaned a bunch out recently because I was tired of it being so overgrown. You couldn't see any light in the tank. Selling timeouts? I don't even understand that. Duckweed is the devil. It's the devil you know. I don't mind duckweed. All right, let's move on to the final tank, and then in a few minutes I'll be sitting down here having a chat. Thought about doing some work in this tank tonight too. The glass really needs to be wiped down. It's getting grungy, and the water could use a little buff up. It's got a little bit of tannin starting to build up in it, but it's good enough. I'm not too worried about it. You guys will cope. All right, sticking with the vibrobites, and I got to throw a lot in here because all the damn fish. I've got some catfish in here you can't even see. So I got to make sure some of this vibrobites gets down to the further part of the tank. And that's probably enough for everybody. All right, 9 of the clock. Perfect. Well, why would I want you to time out Janice for 5 minutes? Yeah, Janice is my OG. She's my very first. No, well, I'm definitely not going to be doing that. She is my very first member. When I decided to start doing the live streams, I started the membership area and all that at the same time, and sort of went through one of my many revamps of the channel over the years to see if I could, bring it to life and make it successful. And it was working for a while. We did all right for a little while, but then it all fell apart. So here we are. All right, this is a bud full of Blue Dream, and then I soaked it with hash oil, so I should be working on the same bowl the rest of the night. Used to have the 46 bow front. I barely remember what tanks I have. Used to be Mike 1993. That rings a bell. I have a lot of people come and go. Iceman, your name is Blue, so that you're already a member. You don't have to rejoin. If your name is highlighted, or no, blue means you're a mod, right? Oh, that sucks, Mike. Right, blue means you're a mod. So I guess having the little emoji by your name or the little badge by your name is how you know you're a member. Cornish. Who's Bennett? I don't know who Bennett is. I did see a Bentley today, though. I meant to mention that. It was parked at my local Weiss grocery store. Like, who the hell drives a Bentley to the Weiss grocery store? And I tend to think, when I think of a Bentley, I think of the kind of car that someone drives you around in. I don't think of a Bentley as the kind of car you drive. So, sit my ass down. Forgot I got these deer jawbone in my way over here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with them, but I brought them in here. All right, let's get you over here, get you in a better position. And we'll get my light turned on. All right. Yeah, the wrench signifies you're a mod. Everybody always laughs at my dream car. I actually saw my dream car as a thumbnail in a video today. 1971 Datsun 240Z. If I could have any car I wanted, that's the car I would buy. Green is a membership? All right. I also got a little bit of positive affirmation from AI of all places last night. My regular viewers, my longtime people that know when I talk about music, there's this one particular opera singer that I talk about who is just amazing. Her name's Diana Demro or Demrell. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her name. I've only ever seen it written. I've never heard anybody say it. So Diana Demrell. And one of the roles she sings is the Queen of the Night. She sings the Queen of the Night aria in the Magic Flute. And it's breathtaking. It's fucking amazing. It is amazing. I've watched videos on like the best performance of that, over the years, and it goes all the way back to like the days where it looked like it was a hand crank camera recording these different sopranos singing this. It's a very challenging piece to sing. And when I heard her sing it, it was just, like, that's it. That is the best. Because opera is not just the music, it's also visual. There's the lighting, there's the costumes, there's the characters there's playing, it's the arrangement. It's everything is in opera. And there are some singers who will do a very technically accurate performance, but they got no life in the performance. They don't bring the character to life or anything. They just sort of sing the part very technically correct. Diana Demrell's got it all. She brings the character to life. She's just absolutely amazing, technically perfect in her. It's incredible to watch her perform this role. And so last night, as I'm scrolling through all my YouTube videos, looking at my different, recommendations and whatnot, there was a thumbnail that popped up, and the title of the video was apparently AI has deemed this the best performance of this performance, or of this whatever. It was like a teaser kind of thing to get you to click on it. But the thumbnail was a picture of Diana Damrell's head and it was, she had the, like, I recognized the costume she was wearing. I was like, I know that, I know exactly what the fuck that is, and they're right. So AI actually agrees with me, or I was correct in my assumption that, like, it's just the fucking goat. It is the best of the best ever of Queen of the Night. So if you're not familiar with it, you should definitely listen to it. And it's amazing. She has to hit a high F repeatedly. And a high F is like makes the fucking bats fall out of the ceiling. It feels like somebody's sticking needles in your ear. All right, where was I? Do a little bit of bloodletting. Car someone else drives really nice. All right, water change is done. Oh, it was opera. I thought that was Oprah. And yeah, I was like, Oprah. Who's talking about Oprah? Opera, right? Gotcha. Excuse me again. No, not Kevin. A different squirrel. I was gonna say Kevin's dead. Kevin got eaten. Step 3, nice. All right. I think that was all I wanted to talk about, was how right I am about that being the best performance ever. And I'm telling you, and especially if you can listen to it with headphones on, but you also have to watch the performance. It's not just about the audio. You got to watch the performance. It's amazing. It's just incredible. The character, the Queen of the Night, I think she's a witch, and she's singing. She's basically coercing her daughter to take the dagger that she's giving her and convincing her to go murder her father while he's sleeping. So it's a pretty dark opera. It's a pretty dark scene. She's fucking terrifying, and it's just incredible. It's absolutely amazing. You should watch it. I say again. I've lost I've lost track of how many different Bigfoot vlogs there are now. There's so much AI garbage on YouTube at this point. Most of the music, when I'm trying to listen to music, I just scroll past, and I've listened to a few of them now, and there's these catchy little. It's just AI generated music, and it's, chill grooves on a Friday night. It'll be the title or something, and it's just some fucking generic music. It was great when I was like pseudo tripping, buzzing, or whatever on those mushrooms. Um, it wasn't music I knew or recognized, so it wasn't like I was going to be singing along or paying attention. It made for, thank you, Laura. It made for some nice just background music, just some chill grooves going on in the background that I didn't have to think about too much. So it's all right, but it's like I feel like I'm dumbing myself down. I don't necessarily have the greatest of musical taste. I have very unique musical taste, but not necessarily the greatest of musical taste. And I think they're just going to get worse as this AI garbage. Here, let me grab my phone and I'll show you the kind of, because I bet if I scroll on the YouTube, like it'll be 50 of them in a row will pop up. Because once you start listening to something on YouTube, it just keeps giving them to you. Let's see. Open the YouTubes. No, that doesn't count because I was already listening to that. How far am I going to have to go before I see one? Sometimes it's stuff like that, like progressive psytrance. I was listening to some shit like that tonight. I was listening to some. I've seen the horse before. I've never seen it with cats, though. How should cats wear pants? It should definitely be this way. No cat's going to wear pants the other way. I will find one of these stupid fucking. Oh, here's one. See how it says Daft Punk? And it shows a picture of people that look like that. It's all bullshit. It's like, it's just AI scraped Daft Punk regurgitated back at you that just sounds like generic Daft Punk, but it's not actually Daft Punk. So I'd rather just listen to the real band than listen to this AI garbage. See, there's another one. Fake Daft Punk, robotic planet bullshit. I get a million of them. Just don't ever listen to stuff like that, because then you'll never get anything other than that. I have to like hunt for real music now at this point, because I keep getting that crap. All right. My musical taste is going to get even worse, I'm afraid. Anthropomorphic characters should wear pants, or they could Porky Pig it, shirt and no pants. Yeah, I guess I can do a water change. We'll get in there and do that. Yeah, it makes for nice background music. Like I say, especially when you're like tripping and you're not, you don't want to focus too much on any one thing, or at least not the music. Has become an anthropomorphic. See, I got a friend that keeps saying that I listen to probably some stuff from the 50s. Usually, if I'm listening to 50s, it'll be like really early ska. Maybe some like early Buddy Holly kind of stuff, something like that. Hey, heavyweight. I'm not technophobic. Um, I got a friend. Every time I bitch about AI, like, just basically ripping off, you feed all of Daft Punk's, decades of music into the AI, and it spits out some regurgitated, generic sounding version. Like, it didn't create anything. It just stole from the actual band that produced the music in the first place and then spit it back out. And so this friend of mine always argues that, well, AI allows, like, it opens up art to the common man, where before you had to know people or have money or be able to do this or that. And it's like, it's not opening up art to anybody. You typing in, show me, a woman with 5 boobs, and then that pops it up for you. How is that art? You didn't do anything. That wasn't creative. It wasn't like, if you drew that, or if you tried to paint that or make a movie, or like if you did something, that's creativity. Just thinking of something and typing it into an AI and having it spit it back at you. Make me music that sounds like, cool 50s jazz, and then it spits out some cool 50s jazz sounding stuff. How is that creativity? That's not. That's why, like, people that could play music and do music were, you listen to them, because I can't. I couldn't play music and make it sound like 50s jazz, but I could type that into a fucking AI. Does that make me suddenly musically creative? No. It just means I can hunt and peck with one finger and type in play me music. So I don't know. I don't buy that argument of like it opens up art to the common man and all that kind of stuff. That's not how fucking art works. That's not art. So anyway, let's go do that water change after I'm going to start yelling at some clouds here in a minute. You get off my lawn, you damn cloud. Fucking AI bullshit. The AI cloud. I think I might drink some of that mushroom juice. I'm starting to feel like I'm waking up now. I always do this. I wake up at like 9 o'clock at night. I don't want you guys that close to figure out we're not feeding, we're water changing. So you stay over here out of my way. And I will actually turn the overhead light on as well. So you can see the black crud slurping out of the tank as we pull it out. Oh, excuse me. I will have to remember from time to time to go check the shower stall in the bathroom because this will clog up the drain. And then it doesn't take too long for that shower stall to overflow. All right, let's get some water in the hose to get it primed. But just that way I won't have to worry about an air bubble in the line. So I always fill the hose up like that so that it's mostly full of water. You can just put it in this way and just let it fill up. But a lot of times you'll have an air bubble that's sort of trapped in the hose. And when you turn it over into that position, you get this little air bubble right there at the top, which is, you know, where the air bubbles usually settle in. And when you unscrew the valve, you get a vapor lock and you don't get the, you know, the actual water to flow. So doing it that way, it's primed and ready to go. As soon as I crack this valve, it's going to start flowing out. But I always unscrew the hose off of the sink because that's, what, 3.5 feet off the ground. It's probably about half the level of that tank in there. But if we put it on the floor, I have a walk-in shower stall down here in the bathroom, and if I throw the end of the hose down there, basically lying on the floor, you get much more suction because you get much more draw from the gravity. All right, so let's start with right up front right here. So much crud. I haven't even gotten to the areas that are just like pockets that collect the stuff. I mean, it obviously collects over here too, but I got a couple of areas that are sort of designed to be traps that allow me to just kind of get into one central spot and get a lot of crud out all at once. But we're getting a lot out from this end too. Good grief. And if you see me jiggling this up and down, I'm not going down into the substrate. I'm not disturbing the root bed or the gravel or anything. I'm just doing it around, swirling around like that, just trying to swirl the water around, just swish the water around enough to get that Mome to lift up off the bottom and get out. It's really packed in there around the plant stems and roots and everything. So I'm just trying to sort of break that up and get it to flow out of there without really disturbing the gravel. I don't mind if the surface bits of gravel sort of pull up with the, you know, the suction for a little bit and then fall back down. But I don't scrunch the, boy, that's a ton of shit coming out of there. Good Lord. I don't scrunch down into the gravel at all. I just basically do a surface vacuuming. And again, any little bits that come up and then settle back down that pull off the surface, that's fine. And there's so much shit in here. Let's turn that over. Get some of that to rinse out. All right. Had a whole entire Java fern in there. I've also got this piece of crap. See, this is the kind of stuff when that moss gets down and out the other end, it's going to definitely not go down the drain when it gets into the bathroom. I saw some shrimp in here earlier. I also saw some shrimp in the 55 when I was getting in there. This is one of the areas. Watch how much stuff comes out of here. This is one of the areas that I designed to collect the stuff. All right, making sure the camera's still rolling. Now, there's a ton of places in this tank I just can't even get to that are like just underneath the rocks. Back here, there's a series of rocks that are stacked up on top of each other, almost like apartment buildings. I wanted to create a bunch of series of caves. This is the very first tank I ever sort of thought out and designed, as opposed to just slapping together one afternoon because I got spur of the moment. You know, I got to bug up my ass to go buy a new fish and set up a new tank, and bam, there it is. This tank I actually really put some thought into. I scaped it and everything before I even put the fish in it. I knew I was going to put the African fish in it when I started. And so it's not well designed. It's my first design, but because it's my first design, it's not well designed. I didn't really do a good job because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never designed a fish tank before. I had no experience with the whole, how much crud and Mome is going to get caught here and there, or water flow, or ease of maintenance. Like, none of those considerations really occurred to me. Keep getting a weird smell. Oh, you know what? I bet it's coming in from outside. I have the fan on. It smells like food. It smells yummy and delicious, and I can't imagine that smell coming out of my fish tank here. But at this time of night, 9:30, why am I smelling yummy, delicious food? That smells fucking good, whatever it is. Look, I got a guppy right there. I didn't know I still had guppies left. All right, let me go check the shower, make sure I'm not overflowing in there, because that's probably going to be happening any second now. No, not really. It is clogged, but I got a little bit of breathing room. I had at least 4 or 5 minutes before it would have overflowed on me. So much crud. All right, there we go. Yeah, I definitely need to get in there and do that. All right, let me. Fishy, how are you this evening? Just trying to get my microphone reattached. When I was bending over to clean out the drain, I stretched too far to pop my microphone off. All right, we are not going to worry too much about getting any more crud out. I feel like I did a pretty good job getting it out of the main places it needed to. Got a dead leaf there. We'll pull that out. Let's go ahead and get a handful of duckweed out of here while we're looking at it. This has a bunch of hair algae growing in the duckweed itself. It's all sort of stuck together, so I'm not going to throw this into the goldfish pond like I normally do, because I don't want to throw the hair algae into the goldfish pond. If it was just duckweed, in there in a second, because the goldfish love duckweed. But I'm not trying to get a bunch of hair algae in the pond. It probably already has it in there, but I'm not going to knowingly throw a handful of hair algae in there. All right, and we're just going to go ahead and let that do a big-ass water change while we're in there, because why not? Let me get caught up on some comments, and then I'll do a dab, and then we'll get back to working on the tank a little bit. Let me find my place. Got to be a stop sign somewhere up here. Holy crap, this is going to take me forever. All right, there we are. Thank you, Laura. I'm reading along here. I don't necessarily have to comment on everything, so bear with me. I wouldn't worry too much about that heavyweight. If you can, get in there and get it out with like a little dip net or, a little siphon hose or something, probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but I don't think it'll cause a problem. Well, I'm trying to get the tanks cleaned up, Iceman, because I promised you I would do an around the world update, and I want the tanks. I want to, as I go around the world, I want to be able to say, and I did some water change on this tank, and I got in here the other day and wiped the glass down. I got to have something to say about the tanks, and so making them look good will also give me something to say about them. So it's dual purpose. Well, mushrooms and chaps and mushrooms is, that's you got to pay extra for that. You don't get that every day. Man, you installed a whole sink just to get a python? Wow. I do treat my water, but I don't. It's groundwater, so it runs through an entire water softening system, and it's complicated. I can explain it if you want me to, but you'll have to ask me to specifically. Otherwise, I'm not going to go into it. Like I said, it's complicated. Yeah, bare bottom tanks are not my favorite. They are easy to clean, though. All right, thank you. Rumsey79, welcome aboard. If you're watching. Yeah, we're doing some much needed overdue maintenance on this tank. I know there's some people here with Pandageras. I'm not sure about the Empire Gudgeon. I've always wanted an Empire Gudgeon, but I've never had one. They're awesome. Yeah, it's probably been at least 6 months since I've cleaned all. Well, no, we got in there not too long ago and cleaned out that Mome. So this tank just builds up fast since I don't have a filter on it. Another step sign. Empire Gudgeons are awesome. I like them. Yeah, I thought mine out too. I just didn't have any experience, so I didn't think it out very well. You have meatloaf running through your head all day? That's not too bad. Well, I guess it depends on what meatloaf you have running through your head. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights is a fucking awesome song. Oh, there you go. Exactly, Mike. That's the one. That's his best song. He does some. Yeah, he's got some alright stuff. I'm not a hater on Meatloaf. I'm not a lover of Meatloaf, but I'm not a hater either. But Paradise by the Dashboard Lights is by far his best song ever. All right, still working on this bowl, and then I'm going to go reverse the water flow. In fact, when I go to reverse the water flow, I'm going to put you on mute for a moment and visit the little fish keeper's room. All right. You guys hang on. I'm going to go reverse that water flow. And then once we get this flowing back in, I will take a little teeny break. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of hot water in there just so it's not like ice cold freezing going back into the tank. So give me a second. I'll be right back and put you on mute. All right, we're back. All right, we don't have a filter or anything on this tank, so there's no filter to change. But I do need to get some kind of fish in this tank that's going to help me deal with all that hair algae. You see how fuzzy everything looks. And all the spray bar and all the apparatus is still just sitting there. In fact, the filter itself is still just sitting there. It's just not connected. That filter hasn't been changed in 14 months. That's on the 55 that we had looked at earlier. And it's been well over a year now since I did a filter change on that. I waited a year on all the other filters in here. And when I did the actual water change after a year, it really wasn't that impressive. And so I don't feel urgent to get in there and do that. Although I have had some water leak out of that filter, which is indicating it's getting a little backed up and I need to do something about it. I don't know. It still just doesn't feel urgent. I'll get to it when I get to it, whenever I feel like it. I don't want to stop paying attention to this while it's filling up. I will wander away and forget about it. So we're going to keep watching it until it's full. And then we'll go sit back down. It's almost 10 o'clock though, so we'll be winding the night down here pretty soon. I don't think I'm going to do a long live stream tonight. Yeah, I got the Few Good Men reference. You can't handle the fish. Pandagara to eat the algae. Is that what you're saying there, Heavyweight? I got a Pandagara once, and I wasn't told to get a group of them. I only got the one, and it was kind of a dick. I gave it away after a few days. Favorite still Carmen. A lot of people's favorite is Carmen. My favorite is the Barber of Seville. Yeah, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Is a pretty good one. Zini, where did Zini come from? What happened to Zaphod? I don't know. I stopped trying to figure out what he wouldn't do a long time ago. That's not one of my favorite Meatloaf songs. It's not bad. It was definitely one of his big radio hits. I do remember that being on the radio like all the time. Is that late 80s, early 90s? I feel like I was driving a auto parts truck, which would have made me a friggin' teenager. Well, no, I drove for the auto parts truck until I turned 21, and then I got my tractor trailer license and moved to Florida. They're pretty much in that order. So very late 80s, very early 90s. Old-fashioned whiskey, how are you? I was going to say you had 8 autos. Wow. Is that like auto flowering or like automobiles? Oh, algae. Yeah, pandagars are good algae eating fish, that's for sure. Now, for whoever was asking me, if you're still here, whoever was asking me about whether my tanks are level or not, let us pay attention as the water level increases. And when it gets to the plastic, let's be able to see the whole tank. Watch on this side, the water will actually be touching the plastic. And on this side, you're still going to have about 1/3 of an inch of a gap before it gets there. You're going to see just how not level this tank really is. Let me turn the overhead light off. I think you'll be able to see it better. All right, we're getting close. You can kind of already see from there the difference. So we're almost touching, and we got a 3/4 of an inch gap on this side. So that's a pretty good visual representation how off bound or off level these tanks are. So it's touching on the right hand side now, and look at the gap on the left, and you'll see the gap will get smaller and smaller as the line will go across the tank, and eventually it'll close up. And once it's all the way up on the left side, we'll go ahead and turn the water off. It's working its way across. All right, I am going to go in the other room and turn the water off. By the time I get there, it'll be done. All right, and we are done. Trying to get all the duckweed off of it. All right, let me put the hose away. I'll be back, and we can get back on with hanging out for a little bit. All right. Good job, everybody. Looks a lot better now, even though I didn't wipe the glass down or anything, but you can actually see the substrate in a lot of places. And I got a lot of tannin stained water out of there, so you can actually see into the tank a lot more clearly now. All right, let's move over here. And let me come back around over there. Yeah, I get asked questions about tanks being level a lot. There's a lot of people that are under the belief that if the tank's not entirely level, the weight will put uneven torque on it and it'll break the seals or crack the seals. And I don't know. There's probably not a tank in this room that's level, but that's the most egregious example of a tank off level in here. No, it doesn't wobble. There's a reason it's like that. I'll explain it in a minute. It rubs the lotion on its skin or it gets the hose again. That's true. If I drank enough of the shroom juice, either that or it would completely unlevel itself no matter what I did. It won't fucking sit still. It keeps moving. That whole entire shelf is one long shelf all the way down the length of the room. I'm not good at building things. I know how I want it to go, but when I actually cut and measure and chop and saw and put together, it never fucking works. Everything's always half a bubble off, one wobbly leg, that sort of thing. So when I originally put it up, I used the 90-degree braces and I just put several of them along the wall. And that's all I had was just those 90-degree braces and nothing underneath of it. So it just kind of looked like a floating wall with just fish tanks sitting on it. And the more I looked at it, even though each brace was rated for like 1,500 pounds and I had 5 of them or something like that, yeah, I'm not an engineer, and I just was afraid of those bolts pulling out of the wall or something. Of course, I ran it into the studs. I didn't, I did that at least. I didn't just run into the fucking, wood paneling. Anyway, I decided one day I was going to put something a little more secure in there. So what I did was I took an upright and then a crossbar at the top, and so I wedged it in like this, and so it's got a bar going across, and then a bar holding it up. And when I put the last one in, when I cut it just a little bit too long. And it should have been, you put it in at the bottom and you notch it up as hard as you can. And you just take a rubber mallet and, sort of tap the bottom in and stand it upright. Well, this one was, that much too long. And I had to like whack, whack, whack. And as I was jamming it in, I could see the fucking wood just going upwards as I pushed that piece of wood in. So I should have realized that it was a little bit too big and taken it out and trimmed a little off the end and put it back in, but I didn't. I decided I was just going to jam it in there anyway. And so all these years later, we've still got that. And that was when I was building the fish room. That was before I had that tank. That was before anything on this wall was even here. So that was 13 years ago or something. That tank's been sitting there. And it hasn't leaked yet. So I'm not going to worry about it. Dude, I could measure 15 times and cut once and it would still be wrong. Well, thank you, Janice. It almost works out. It's close enough. Again, good enough is basically my motto. I'm not a perfectionist. As long as it works, good enough. Well, a lot of my tanks aren't level simply because they're sitting on stands that are on my basement floor. And this is a basement floor. My upstairs floors are level because they're interior floors. This is the basement, and there's a drain in the far end of the basement for emergency reasons. And so the whole floor is sloped to that end of the basement. And nothing in here is truly level because of that. This tank, when I fill this tank up, it is 6 feet long, but it's sitting on the floor. And when it's almost full, this end is much closer. This end is touching the plastic, and that end still has that much to go before it gets there. Again, that's over a 6 foot length, not a 3 foot length. That's 3 feet, and it's about that much difference. That's a lot of fucking, that's a lot of difference over there if you actually put a level on it. But all of my tanks that sit on the floor down here are not level. Everything is leaning towards that end of the basement. Let me see. Yeah, you got it for water drainage. It's always going to slope one way or the other. Yeah, all my tanks are like that. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how many times I measure. It doesn't matter how many times I put the circular saw where I drew the line. I always get it wrong and cut on the wrong side of the line, or I miss, or I drift away from it as I'm cutting. I'm just not good at it. I've never been good at it. I'm more of a thinker than a doer. I know, like when I used to be into cars and I had my hot rod and all that kind of stuff, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how all the shit works. I can explain to you all of what everything's going on and why it does the things it's doing and everything. But let me try to change the spark plugs in it, and I'm there for 4 hours, and I got bloody knuckles when I'm done, and I broke a tool, and then I'm missing. I can't find a bolt when I'm done. ADHD is probably, not, having ADHD is probably not helpful in those circumstances. But I'm just not good at doing stuff like that. When I mod out my kayak and I cut holes and drill things and do things like that, as long as it works, again, it's good enough. As long as it gets through, gets the job done that I wanted it to do and then functions, I'm happy. So that's my motto. I'm not a perfectionist. Anyway, I'm going to do another dab. It is almost 10 o'clock, so I'm going to start winding down tonight. And if there's anything anyone else wants to chat about, you can hit me up real quick. And I'm just heating up my metal tube here. My nectar collector. I call it a straw, but you can call it a nectar collector if you want. All right, I think that's going to be my final dab for the night because I am starting to run low. Running low on every damn thing. I'm seriously considering making that trip down DC this week. While I have been enjoying my that mushroom buzz that I've been getting with the muscaria mushrooms, I feel like I got cheated now that I know that it's not actually psilocybin, because I thought it was psilocybin when I bought it, and they certainly market it as, we're not going to outright say it's psilocybin mushroom, but we're certainly going to let you think it is. They kept calling it magic mushrooms, and, be careful, you'll experience a psychotropic effect. And they're not lying about any of that. It's just that it's not psilocybin. It's something different. And of course, like I said, I bought it thinking it was psilocybin and thinking that's, I was buying that. You can buy every other damn drug online. Why not that? And so now I just kind of feel bummed out, and I want to actually get some psilocybin mushrooms and actually do a real trip. I have ordered a grow your own mushroom kit. That will be here Tuesday, or maybe here tomorrow, but it's expected by Tuesday. And that'll be the grow bag, and then I also got a thing of spores. And but that's going to be like a 6 week process in getting the whole thing up and running and getting my first batch of mushrooms. It's going to take like 6 weeks. So I still might run down DC at some point. It just depends on financially whether I can really afford to or not. It's going to be like $20 in gas and then $50 for an eighth of mushrooms. But I'll be getting actual, real, bona fide, genuine psilocybin mushrooms. The ones I want are $70 for an eighth of the blue meanies. I'm almost afraid to try the blue meanies just because of what their name is. It sounds scary. There you go, Mike. You probably get a lot of views doing that. Well, aren't you special, Janice? No, things being a little bit slightly off and all that kind of don't bug me. I work on my own cars when it comes to like windshield wipers, if I've got a light that needs to be changed, anything like that. Anything more complicated like an oil change, it's going to the shop. Somebody else is doing that for me. I like the Pracox rainbows, but I've never kept them, so I don't know what to tell you on that. I'm better with a wrench than I am with an instrument, I'll say that. There you go, Zini. Zini it up. Everybody loves wood. All right, we are now at 10 o'clock, so I'm going to move into first positions. And again, for all of you out there saying that you like the fine arts and opera and so on and so forth, look up Queen of the Night aria, Diana Damrau, Damrau. You could probably just type in Queen of the Night, and it'll probably be one of the first ones that pop up. You'll recognize it. She's wearing green. It's very like an emerald green. She's got a big green head thing on and a big green costume. Listen to that, and it will blow your mind. And then watch the performance. Watch the technical performance. It's just amazing. It's mind blowing. And if you've got a good stereo system or you got headphones or something, do that. Do it the justice that it deserves. Don't listen to it on your phone just to hear it. Really listen to it because it'll give you fucking goose pimples. It's amazing. All right, everybody. We're going to say goodnight, sweetheart, because it's time to go. Do. For my members, I will be back Wednesday as per usual. For everybody else, if you are not already a member and you would like to be, you can go to one of my videos. Underneath of it, you'll see a button that says join. If you click that, it will cost you $2.99 a month. But that gets you access to the Discord server and will also get you access to a Wednesday members only live stream. And so for my members, I will see you guys on Wednesday. And for everybody else, if you want to do the free version, that's every Friday night and Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And so everybody else, I will see you all back then. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I had a good time, and we'll see how the next one goes. All right, everybody, good night.